Hi, good morning, students. Welcome to our online class. In previous class, we were discussing about second chapter business study, that is financial management. Okay, in that financial management, we have discussed about meaning of finance in business and role and importance of finance in business organizations. Okay. See, once again, I would like to recall that meaning and definitions of finance in business organization. Okay. See, meaning of finance in business. What do you mean? Finance in business. Okay. Finance is the acquisition of funds and their effective utilization by keeping in the mind the overall objectives of the concern. Okay. Here in business, finance means finance is the acquisition of funds and their effective utilization. Okay. Finance means the acquisition of funds and their effective utilization, keeping in the mind the overall objectives of the concern, business concern here. It means, okay, that is the meaning of finance. Okay, finance is the acquisition of funds and their effective utilization, keeping in the mind the overall objectives of the concern. Okay, finance is the acquisition of funds. Finance is the acquisition of funds and their effective utilization keeping in the mind the overall objectives of the concern. Okay, is it clear? Finance is the acquisition of funds and their effective utilization, keeping in the mind the overall objectives of the concern. Okay, that is the meaning. And in definition, according to Gutman and Douglas, defined that the activity concerned with planning. Finance means, according to Gutman and Douglas, defined that business finance is the activity of business finance is the activity concerned with planning, raising, controlling, and administering of the funds used in business. Okay, it is also one of the definition according to Gutman and Douglas. Okay, according to Gutman, see once again I repeat that. According to Gutman and Douglas, defined business finance as the activity concerned with planning, raising, controlling, administering of the funds used in business. Okay, that is the definition of finance in business. Okay, according to Gutman and Douglas, defined the business finance as the activity concerned with planning, raising, controlling, and administering of the funds used in business. Okay, that is the definition. And also we have discussed about role and importance of finance in business organization. It means how finance plays very important role in the business organization. Already I told you, in business, for each and everything we need money. Without money, we can't do anything in business. Okay, so that's why finance is the lifeblood of every business. Here, several importances are there in business. What are the roles and what are the role and importance of finance in business? The first one, finance is the lifeblood of every business. Now only I told you, without finance we can't do anything in business. So that's why finance is the lifeblood of every business. Without finance, no business activity is possible. Now only I told you, without finance we can't do anything in business. Next, second one, finance helps to obtain resources that are required in the process of production and marketing of goods and services. It means in business, finance helps to obtain resources that are required in the process of production and marketing of goods and services. It means in business, in order to produce any kind of goods and services, we need resources. In order to purchase that resources, we need finance. Okay, and after producing that goods and services, in order to launch that goods and services in the market, we need finance once again. Okay, so for every activity we need finance in business. And third one, finance integrates the various segments of business enterprises enterprise for the smooth running of the business in the direction of attaining the organization goals. Already you know, each and every business organizations have their own goals and objectives. In order to attain their goals and objectives, we need finance. Okay, and then fourth one, finance guides and regulates the investment decisions and expenditure. Here, finance guides and regulates the investment decisions and expenditure. It means how much we have to invest, how much we have to spend on our business, everything, for everything it guides. Okay, so here finance guides and regulates the investment decisions and expenditure. Before starting business, each and every business person or an entrepreneur, he prepares well plan what to produce, how to produce, where to produce, when to produce, how much to produce, how to produce everything. For everything he prepares plan. Okay, for that he need finance. Okay, so that's why here finance guides and regulates the investment decisions and expenditure. How much invest, how much I have to invest, and how much I have to expend on this business. For everything, it guides you. Next, finance helps for the modernization, diversification, expansion, and development of an enterprise. Here, finance helps for the modernization of business. See, once upon a time, you established any organization, means once again you have to modify that organization according to changing environment. So for that you need financier. Okay, you means you're a businessman. Okay, for every businessman, in order to modernize his business, he need finance, and also for diversification of business, he need finance, and expansion and development of an enterprise, he need finance. Okay, finance is essential to undertake research, market survey, advertisement, and publicity for effective marketing of the products. Now only I told you, in order to produce any goods and services, we need resources. In order to purchase that resources, we need finance. After producing that goods and services, in order to launch that products in the market, we need finance. It means for advertisement, we need finance here. Okay, for advertisement and marketing, we need finance. Okay. And finance is required to develop industries in backward areas. It means here, in order to establish business in backward areas, we need a lot of finance. Okay, or sufficient finance, because it is very difficult to develop industries in backward areas. Okay, because number of problems are there in that backward areas. Next, eighth one, financial stability will enhance the credit worthiness of the concern. Already you know this financial stability, which firm maintains stability, manages its financial stability, that financial stability will enhance the credit worthiness of the business concern. Okay, it means financial stability enhances the credit worthiness of the concern, means it increases the name and fame of the business concern. Okay, these are the some roles and importances of finance in business. Okay. Next, now we are going to discuss about sources of finance to business organizations. It means in order to establish any business organizations or in order to run the business organizations, we need finance. For that, how to get that finance to run any business organizations or to establish new business organizations. Okay, now we are going to discuss about sources of finance to business organizations. Okay, where to we have to raise the funds, how to raise the funds, and how to gather or how to pool the funds in order to start the business. Okay, see here the business organizations generally require two types of finance on the basis of the term for repayment. They are short-term finance and long-term finance. Here there are two types of finance available to the business organizations. On the basis of what? On the basis of term for repayment. They are short-term finance and long-term finance. See, first one, short-term finance. Finance that is required for day-to-day working is called short-term finance. It is very important. First, you should know what do you mean by short-term finance and long-term finance. Short-term finance means short-term finance is that sorry short-term finance is required for day-to-day working is called as short-term finance. It means generally we can call it working capital management. Working capital management means manage the day-to-day operations of the business. Okay. So here short-term finance means short-term finance is that it is required for day-to-day working. It means in order to manage the day-to-day working, what we need finance, that finance is called as a short-term finance. Okay. In order to manage the day-to-day working of the business concern, what we need finance, that finance is called as short-term finance. It is required to meet the working capital needs. Now only I told you short-term finance. Why we need or why business organizations need short finance in order to manage the working capital needs. Okay, why business organizations needs this working capital finance, short-term finance especially. Okay, why business organizations need short-term finance in order to manage the working capital needs of the organization. Then, what do you mean by working capital management? Working capital management means in day-to-day business activity, what we need in order to purchase that needed resources, what we expand, that money is called as a short-term finance. It means in order to then what are the day-to-day business activities? Purchasing, manufacturing, like that. For these, we need labors, transportation, electricity, machines, etc. Okay. For that, what we expand, that money is called as a short-term finance. Okay. These are called as a working capital management. Okay. It is called as a working capital management. Here, it is required to meet the working capital needs. Working capital needs means here to purchase raw materials, to pay wages, salaries, to meet the marketing and administrative expenses. These are the working capital needs. Okay, what are the working? Give examples for working capital needs means you have to write this. Okay, give any examples for working capital needs. Working capital needs means here to purchase raw materials, to pay wages, to pay salaries, to meet the marketing and administrative expenses, advertisement expenses, rent, rates, commission, etc. These are the working capital needs. Okay. There is always a time gap between sales and receipt of sale proceeds. It means after producing, in order to get a profit, there is a gap between sales production and sale proceeds. After producing any goods and services, it is not possible to suddenly sell that goods in the market because we have to wait for demand. When demand arises on that time, an entrepreneur or producer, he will launch his products in the market. Up to that, he has to wait. Okay, when demand arises on that time, he has to launch that products in the market. So here there is a time gap between marketing and there is a time gap between sales and receipts of sale proceeds. After selling goods and services, there is a time gap between sales and sale proceeds. Okay, so in order to fulfill that gap, we need short-term finance. Okay, to fill the financial gap between sales and receipts of sale proceeds, we need short-term finance. Okay, to fill the financial gap between these two processes, namely sales and receipt of sale proceeds, sufficient funds are required. Hence, there is a need for short-term finance. For these purposes, we need short-term finance in business. Okay, there is a time gap between sales and sale receipts. Okay, or sale proceeds. So, in order to fulfill that gap between sales and sale proceeds and sales receipt, we need short-term finance. Next, sources of short-term finance. Here, several types of short-term financial sources are. Okay, they are trade credit, bank credit, or bank loan. Next, advance from customers, short-term public deposit or installment credit. Next, loans from indigenous bankers. These are the sources of short-term finance. Okay. What are the sources of short-term finance? The first one, trade credit. Before that, you should know the meaning of sources of short-term finance. There are many sources through which the short-term finance required to business concern can be raised. The important sources of short-term finance are as follows. Short-term finance means not only I told you, the finance which helps to manage the working capital needs of the business concern. That finance is called as a short-term finance. Or one more meaning, short-term finance means 1 day to 7 days or day to day. Actually, first day to day or 1 day to 1 week or 7 days, 7 days to 1 month, 1 month to 3 months, or 3 months to 6 months, or 6 months to 1 year. Totally within 1 year. Okay, that finance is also called as a short-term finance. It means some people morning they will take loan, at evening time they will repay that loan amount along with interest rate. Okay, morning they will take a loan from any banks or indigenous bankers or money from money lenders. At evening time they will repay that loan amount along with interest. That is also called as a short-term finance. Or some people, they can take loan for 7 days. After 7 days, they can repay that loan amount along with interest rate to the indigenous bankers or to the money lenders. Or some people can take a loan for 3 months or for 6 months, like that, totally within 1 year. That type of finance is called as a short-term finance. Okay. Here several important short-term financial sources are there. Among them, first one, trade credit. See, what do you mean by trade credit? It is credit obtained by the suppliers of goods. What do you mean by trade credit? It is the credit obtained by the suppliers of goods. It means manufacturer or producer, what he get money from suppliers of the goods, that credit is called as a trade credit. Okay. It is a general practice that the goods are purchased on credit and payment. Sorry, it is the general practice that the goods are purchased on credit and payment is made in 2 or 3 installments. After purchasing a huge amount of goods, that purchaser will not pay all amount at a time. He can pay that amount in installments. For example, if you purchased a car means you will not pay entire car amount to the seller. You can pay that amount in installment basis. On installment basis. Some people at a time they can pay, but most of the people will pay that amount on installment basis. Okay. Next source, that is bank credit. Generally, the business houses borrow money from banks for a period of 3 months to 1 year. Now only I told you, bank credit or bank loan means taking loan from banks. Most of the business people can borrow money from banks. Here, so number of banks are there. Nationalized banks, private banks are there. Indigenous banks are there. Like, okay, from all that banks, business people will borrow money for their working capital management. Okay, in order to manage the working capital needs of the business concern, that business people borrow money from these banks. Okay, that money is called as a bank credit or bank loan. Okay, generally the business houses or business organizations borrow money from banks for a period of 3 months to 1 year. Now only I told you, any businessman or an entrepreneur will borrow money for 1 week, 1 week to 1 month, or 3 months, 3 months to 6 months, or within 1 year. Okay, that finance is called as a short-term finance. Banks also offer overdraft facility to the business concerns. Okay, here some banks will offer overdraft facility to the business concern. Overdraft facility means, uh, for example, in your account you have 10,000 rupees. One day suddenly you need 20,000 rupees, but you have only 10,000 rupees in your account. On that time, some banks will offer this overdraft facility. It means that the banks will provide 20,000 rupees to you. Okay, that type of facility is called as a overdraft facility. Next, advance from customers. In some cases, the business concerns receive money in advance of supplying the goods. Okay, advance from customers means taking money, taking advance money from the customers in order to supply the goods. Okay, when they can take advance from customers when shortage of goods arises at that time, customers will give advance money to the sellers. Next, D, short-term public deposit or installment credit. Here, the finance is raised from the public for a short term. Sometimes, some assets are purchased on installment system. Here, short-term public deposit or installment credit means investors in number of investors they can invest their money in any organizations, no, and the time that person businessman or an entrepreneur will get advance money from the investors also. Okay, finance is raised from the public for a short term. Okay, here when financial necessity arises to the business organization, and that time an entrepreneur raise money from the public. Long-term finance refers to finance required for the development of programs such as expansion of the level of production, modernization of production methods, etc. Here, why business organizations or an entrepreneur need long-term finance in order to expand their business or in order to one more new branch or in order to modernize their business or in order to modernize their methods of production or to install modern machines like that. Okay, for all these purposes he need a long-term finance. It means he need a lump sum amount here in order to expand their business or in order to modernize their production method or in order to modernize their business or in order to start one more new business. Okay, he need lump sum amount. For that purpose, he need long-term finance. This type of finance is also required for financing the fixed capital of an undertaking. For example, to procure fixed assets, establishing new undertaking. Now only I told you, in order to purchase fixed assets like land, machinery, building, you need long-term finance. Okay, why an entrepreneur need long-term finance? In order to develop fixed assets like to purchase the land, building, machinery, etc. Okay, he need long-term finance or to start one more new business. Also, he need long-term finance. But long-term finance is costlier than the short-term finance. Why? That is the rate of interest is high. It is is raised against securities. It is raised by joint stock companies through the issue of shares and debentures. Okay. How this long-term finance can be raised? It is raised by joint stock companies through the issue of shares and debentures. Okay. Here, business organizations or companies raise long-term finance by issuing of shares and debentures. Okay, through the issue of shares and debentures. Shares means what are the shares? A share is a part of capital. Okay, a debenture is also a financial instrument which can be raised, which can be sold in order to raise the capital. Okay, what do you mean by share? Share is a part of capital. Debentures, debenture is also a part of capital, but here carry shares will not carry fixed rate of interest. Debenture carries fixed rate of interest, and For shares, there is no guarantee for your returns. If you purchase shares means here there is guarantee for your returns. But if you purchase debentures means 100% you get a fixed rate of profit and interest also. Next, issue of shares. The capital of a joint stock company is divided into small units called shares. It means here it is complex. So just try to keep in your mind share means a part. Share is a part of capital. Okay. What do you mean by share? Share is a part of capital. Then what do you mean by capital? Capital is a mixture of shares and debentures. Okay. What do you mean by share? Share is a part of capital. Share means share is a part of capital. Share is a part of capital. Then what do you mean by capital? Capital is a mixture of capital is a mixture of shares and debentures. Okay. Share means share is a part of capital. Then what do you mean by capital? Capital is a mixture of shares and debentures. Then these two shares and debentures are the sources of finance. Okay. In order to raise the capital, they can sell the shares and debentures. Okay. Business organizations or companies raise their funds through shares and debentures. Okay. By issuing shares and debentures. So here, shareholder ha, shareholder has the voting rights, but debenture holder will not. But here there is no guarantee for returns to the shareholder. It means any person, if he purchases shares, means it is completely depending on share market. This share market continuously fluctuates. For every 3 seconds, that share market fluctuates. It means increases and decreases every 3 seconds. Or the commodity's value or the price of commodity increases and decreases at international market for every 3 seconds. Okay, this share is completely depending on that share market. Okay, but that share market continuously fluctuates. Continuously fluctuates means here for every 3 seconds that share market fluctuates. Okay, so that profit is depending on that share market. Shares return is completely depending on that share market. Okay. So here for shareholder here there is no guarantee for his return. Sometimes he will get a high profit and sometimes he will get zero. Okay. Here in share market 1 rupees maybe becomes 10 lakh rupees or 10 lakh rupees maybe becomes 1 rupee like that. But in case of debentures, debenture holder will get a fixed rate of interest and profit, and it carries fixed rate of interest. But here shares will not carry fixed rate of interest and fixed rate of profit. Here high risk is there and high profit is there. In case of shares, high risk is there and high profit also is there. So that's why if you have share risk bearing capacity means you have to purchase the shares. Otherwise, if you want a fixed rate of profit means you have to purchase the debentures. Okay. So here, in case of shares, high risk is there and high profit also is there. Whenever they need additional capital for long-term purpose, the companies raise the funds through issue of shares to the public. Here, how companies will raise their funds means by issuing shares to the general public. It means companies can sell their shares to the general public. With that, they can raise their finance, long-term finance especially. Okay, and also in case of debentures also, by issuing the debentures to the general public or by selling the debentures to general public, companies will raise their long-term finance. Okay. This is about shares and debentures. Okay. In next class, we will discuss about financial institutions. Okay. Here, number of institutions, financial institutions are there to provide short-term finance and long-term finance. Okay. For example, IFCI is there, Industrial Finance and Corporation of India, and SFC is there, State Financial Corporation of India, and IDBI is there, Industrial Development Bank of India, and ICICI is there, Industrial Credit and Investment Corporation of India, and Exim Bank is there in order to export, in order to do import and export business. These bank will provide no financial facility, and commercial banks are there, cooperative banks are there. Okay, and other banks also are there. We will discuss about that in detail in next class. Okay. Today's question: what do you mean by short-term finance and what do you mean by long-term finance? Give any four examples for short-term finance and give any four examples for long-term finance. Okay. What do you mean by trade credit and what do you mean by long-term finance? Okay. Give any two examples for long-term finance, shares and debentures. Okay. In next class we will discuss remaining talk. Okay. Thank you guys. We will meet in next class.